Hello, this is Hong, Senior Program Manager from Microsoft. As a program manager, one of my biggest goal is to deliver the project on time and every time. And that's where the understanding of the time and efforts spent on security design and plan coming in. And in my spare life, I love dancing and also enjoyed so much in climbing the mountains. And cooking food is also my favorite activities in the spare time. And definitely Chinese food is my favorite. And among all the food, dumpling is my most favorite food. And talking about dumplings, it's the most important traditional food for most Chinese, I believe. It's a must-have food for big festivals like the Spring Festival, which is the Chinese New Year. And do you know that making dumplings, it's really a time-consuming work? Well, in my memory, making dumpling, it's a huge family teamwork. It used to take 4 to 5 people, a couple of hours. If we're making dumplings from the ground, we will start to make the wrappers from the flour and then add the sauces by mixing the porks and the vegetables and all the other things together. So it's really a very, very time-consuming work. But I just enjoy the taste and the feeling of this family work, especially in the holiday season. However, nowadays you have more choices. You don't need to man-make the dumplings from the beginning. You can buy the half-cooked dumplings from the supermarket, and then you cook it directly. Or you can even order the dumplings from the restaurant. It's much easier and more convenient. At the same time, for a lot of families like mine, including myself, I still enjoy the traditional way of making dumplings because I just feel the taste is more delicious than the both ones. And do you know that while we are making dumplings, we will insert a coin in one of the dumplings. So that dumpling will be a special bonus. We believe that this type of dumpling will give the people special luck to whoever eat it because you get the special dumpling. It will give you the special, lucky in the new year as well. So eating dumpling, making dumpling is not only a time-consuming work, but you get the most delicious food, and you will also be have chances to get the special bonus. So I really enjoy the man-made ways to make the dumplings. All right, and coming about like my story, dumplings, DevOps of dumplings. So talk a little bit about my work. So my team, commercial software engineer inside of a Microsoft, we are an engineering team and we are doing projects with the Microsoft large enterprise customers to help them launch their solutions and products on the cloud or Azure. So the learnings and artifacts I share today in this story are coming from my teammates in one of our project before. So in this project, the team is using the Azure DevOps pipeline to orchestrate and automate our pipeline for the continuous development and the deployment, or so-called CI and CD. So all these pipelines are running on an agent. We call it Microsoft hosted agent, and that agent is running in the Azure public network. But the issue here is that the customer, all their network resources are located inside of a private network, or it's called a virtual network. So the agent or the virtual machine, which is running the Azure pipelines for our CI/CD, would not be able to access the resources, which is inside of the virtual network. So that became a problem, access issue. Then at this moment, you may ask a question to me, like why you choose to use the Microsoft hosted agent, which can only be running in the public Azure environment. Well, there are a couple of reasons to choose Microsoft hosted agent. So the first reason is the Microsoft hosted agent provides so many virtual machine images to choose so that you can easily pick up the one accommodate to your project requirement and very quick to start. And the second reason is a Microsoft hosted agent provide a lot of pre-built tools and the runtime dependencies and libraries that you don't need to take the time and effort to build by yourself. So that is also a very easy and quick to start. And the third reason is a Microsoft hosted agent is maintained by Microsoft. So that means the security packages and the software upgrades, all this will be taken care by Microsoft. And you don't need to worry about that. So imagine you will save a lot of time and effort using Microsoft hosted agent to start your project, especially if going to use the CI/CD pipeline to orchestrate your development. So this will be so convenient, and that's the reason that we choose this option. So and also thinking about like a user comparison, when you are hungry and if you want to eat dumpling, the quickest way and the easiest way is you buy the half-made dumplings from the supermarket, and you can cook it very quickly in a couple of minutes, and you can eat the dumplings. So that is the same philosophy here. We choose a Microsoft hosted agent. You don't need to worry about how the dumplings is made, and you can just directly eat the dumplings. But here's the issue, how we can solve the access issue that Microsoft hosted agent cannot access the VNet resources under customer enterprise network. So here comes easy solution after talking with both customer and the dev team. So our Microsoft hosted agent is running in the public environment, but it does have an IP address. So if we add this IP address to the customer's firewall configuration, it will be like giving our agent a password. So that with this password, it would be able to access the resources, which is, for example, like the SQL database, etc., which is under protection inside of the customer's VNet. So the access issue will be solved. We will add the firewall's allow list, including the Microsoft hosted agent IP address, and that's it. So from my perspective, this is the fastest and easiest way to move our project ahead, and with this issue addressed. Did this solution work? Well, it did, until in the middle of the project, an unexpected issue happened. So one day, the customer project leader gave me an urgent call and told me that their company's security team just raised a high severity ticket on our project. And the reason is they didn't allow the firewall configuration to contain an IP address that is running on a machine which is in the public environment. In our case, that is the Microsoft hosted agent. And the IP address must be removed from the firewall allow list immediately. And I was shocked because almost every day, all the time, the dev team is leveraging the Microsoft hosted agent to run the pipeline and do the development work and deployment work to the customer network. And without this access, all of our dev and the deployment work will be blocked and postponed here. So this will be like a showstopper issue for our project. I immediately talk with the customer security team and try to understand the reason behind. So it turned out that the customer security team had a regular scan of all the network resources, including the firewall, and they found that there is inside of the allowed list, there's one IP address belong to a machine which is running in the public environment. And that shouldn't be allowed because they are following the non-zero trust principle. Then I explained to the security team that I said, even this IP address is running on an agent in the public environment. The IP address itself is not public. And what's more, the Microsoft hosted agent is all backed by Microsoft security policy, and Microsoft is fully maintained this machine. And it's totally only used for development and testing purposes and not others. But the security team's response was also very firm as well. They said no one can guarantee that this Microsoft hosted agent, which is running in the public environment, won't be attacked by a hacker. And if that happened, it will be like opening a door or a leakage of their network to the outside, and that won't be allowed in any way. So I understand there's nothing to compromise here, and we must take actions in the right way as soon as possible. So I immediately talked with the dev team, and we figured out the solution. To address the access issue, we can build a self-hosted agent. So instead of the Microsoft hosted agent, which can only be run in the public environment, this self-hosted agent can be running inside of the customer's virtual network with, the private endpoint connections to the services which is inside of the customer's VNet. So that through this way, we would be able to set up a secure connection between the services inside of the VNet, and this will all comply with the customer security policies and rules. But the biggest issue here is not like the Microsoft hosted agent. The self-hosted agent, we have to build everything from the scratch and from the ground. All the images and the libraries and dependencies we have to build by ourselves. And what's more, sometimes we won't be able to know what libraries was missing until the pipeline was running failed on the agent. So that means we need to troubleshoot and get into the logs and to figure out what was missing and reinstall again. And that will be very time consuming. Our time is pressure, but customer security also comes with high priority as well, and that we cannot negotiate and compromise. So the following next week become quite crucial for us. I decided to divide the team into two parts. So one of the team is continue their development and the deployment work in our own subscription. So that means all the work we have done in our own subscription needs to migrate to the customer network in the future. And at the same time, the other team is doing the building and testing of our own self-hosted agent work. I would say that's really a painful journey because we need to build everything from the ground. Well, later on, yeah, we do find another a much kind of like a workaround that we can directly copy the image from a Microsoft hosted agent. That saves us some effort, but the troubleshooting really takes the time because the dependencies and libraries, all these things we need to do by ourselves. And a lot of the times, only when the pipeline has been running for a couple of hours or even more than 10 couple of minutes, and when it failed, we can figure out what's the issue and what's wrong with the missing libraries and dependencies itself. And then we reinstall that. It took us almost 1 week until we finally have built a successful self-hosted agent, and that could also run the pipeline successfully at last. And from then on, we move all of our work to this self-hosted agent and just started to work from there as well. Yeah, and luckily, because we are still in the middle of the project, so that 1 week delay didn't give us like a disaster impact to the whole project delivery. So last thing is about my takeaway. So the first takeaway is, yeah, we all understand the security is very important, but I would say it should be the first important thing we need to consider in our design and our project plan. And it's also correlated with the second takeaway. Especially if you work for a third party or customer project, please especially consider the security in the design at the first time. Because cloud security is now a shared responsibility, and this is like a common understanding for most of the enterprise customers. So it will be a wise decision to work closely with the customer securities team or experts team to understand their security rules and policies. At least we should understand what is not allowed from their security rules or policies. And you can imagine how busy this type of team will be. So have this conversation as early as possible will really help to avoid any unexpected violation in the later phase of the project. And the third takeaway is also my personal feeling as well, is to secure the cloud resources will add more complexities to the project. And adding more restrictions to the access will also cause inconvenience. Like in our project, running self-hosted agent in a private network also gave us a lot of inconvenience in the development work. But we need to overcome all these difficulties because security is something that nobody can compromise or can negotiate, because it in turn, in the long run, will avoid big asset loss for the company, especially for a customer company. So all these pains, takes time and also, takes effort, but eventually it will pay. It will give you and ensure with you a secure network environment, and also will ensure with you a successful project. So just like the man-made dumplings, you see that it takes time, it takes the effort, it takes the family, a couple of hours to make it. But I just feel the taste of the man-made dumpling is more delicious. I think the reason is because you take the effort, you give the effort, you give your time, and all the pains will finally pay, and it's worth the efforts. And remember that we will also insert a coin into one of the dumplings as the lucky dumpling, the lucky coin. So I think like a successful project in the end is a lucky coin if we pay the effort in the security design and considerations. So do you want to get your lucky coin?